We head now over to our colleagues in Asia to hear how local networks in China and India are supporting climate adaptation, resilience, and financing in the private sector. The discussion is led by Shabnam Siddiqui, the Executive Director of the Global Compact Network in India. Shabnam, over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the people attending this special session of the United Nations Global Compact. This is Shabnam Siddiqui representing the Global Compact Network India, and it is my great pleasure to have the best of the panel to moderate today. We are at a code red for humanity to confront the climate emergency. While the world continues to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, the impacts of climate change rage on and inequalities are deepening. It is heartening then that two COPs are taking place pretty much back to back, gives us the excellent opportunity to showcase how issues of biodiversity and climate change are inseparable and need to be worked on by the private sector. The private sector has a key role in sending strong market signals and scaling innovative solutions to present realistic plans towards a zero carbon economy while advocating for a green recovery. We don't have to choose between climate action and having strong economies. On the contrary, taking climate action is the best way to build healthier communities, businesses, and economies, as will be demonstrated by the speakers today. At the Global Compact Network, India and China, we understand the urgency to act and therefore are working closely with the corporate sector to set ambitious targets for the climate, with initiatives like promoting the science-based targets, which has just today released the standard framework for zero emissions, the CO water mandate, climate and biodiversity, and others. We are pleased then to lead the regional deep dive session for Asia today with the two Asian tigers, India and China, on the theme Climate Ambition in Asia, role of business for enabling climate adaptation, resilience, and financing in India and China. It is a privilege to have speakers from few of the most progressive businesses in Asia to share their actions and vision of how the private sector will be a catalyst for nations in achieving their climate ambition targets. We have with us Ms. Zhang Xuan, Assistant Vice President of Sustainability, China Shengmu Organic Milk Limited, Dr. Ms. Carola Richter, President Asia Pacific BASF, Mr. David Fan, Vice President Corporate Affairs and Sustainability, GCR Nestle China, and our very own Mr. Mahindra Singhi, MD and CEO, Dalmia Cement Bharat. With that, we move on to the question round, and my first question goes to Ms. Zhang Xuan, Assistant Vice President of Sustainability, China Shengmu Organic Limited. Ms. Zhang, could you please tell us what actions and commitments are being taken by your organization to set and execute climate ambition targets? And how do you plan to raise the climate ambition of the industry in China? Ms. Zhang, please.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Shu Yuanzhang. I'm from China Shengmu Organic Milk Limited. As of now, Xiaomi has scientifically formulated and fixed the group annual carbon emission auditing process and merchandising. We will continue to push forward with the carbon emission auditing and public disclosure in the coming years, with a clear understanding of the group current emission inventory. Xiaomi is working on the SGBI submission for now and aiming to back up our carbon reduction goals with a scientific approach and international recognition. We will pledge us to scientifically peak our emission and reach the net zero in accordance with the China's 3060s ambitions.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Richter, BASF has been at the forefront of climate action for a long time. And now that we are at a code red for humanity to confront the climate emergency and its impact, we need a breakthrough on adaptation and resilience. Please tell us how your company is setting climate ambition targets, both in India and Asia, to adapt and become more resilient to the impact of climate change. Dr. Richard.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the question. Actually, in BASF, we understand that climate change is the greatest challenge for the 21st century. So for us, tackling this really means our license to operate. It's an essential element also in our corporate purpose. So we say we create chemistry for a sustainable future. So what does it mean, actually? So we are committed to the targets of the Paris Climate Agreement. And for us, it means we want to be neutral by 2050. And already earlier in 2030, we also want to reduce our carbon emissions by 25%. And let's not forget, we have already reduced by 50% compared to the 90s, despite doubling production. And that must be our targets. But to reach this goal and also stay competitive, we do need and understand we need new processes and new technologies to allow for this transition, especially if I look at renewable energy. And we want to tackle that jointly with support of customers, the industry, and also the government. For us also, what does it mean? I talked about our own production, but it's more than that. It's about also how we procure. We are in dialogue with our suppliers, and we need the support of our customers. So we are investing globally already 50% of our R&D budget in making products and solutions even more sustainable. Now, your question was on Asia. And if we talk about Asia, actually the participation of carbon emission is quite significant already today. And India and China play a key role also for us. It's the fastest growing region and it's most dynamic. And from my last 20 years in being in Asia, the good news is there is a lot of focus on sustainability already. So we understand that sustainability challenges in demand from national stakeholders and customers vary indeed from country to country. So we have these dialogues really on a country level to understand local needs and local regulations. And we also understand that the chemical industry and BASF must be a pioneer because we are a relevant lever for change and we see ourselves as part of the solution, both for national targets, but also for local brand owners with all their commitments towards sustainability. And now concretely on India, as I'm representing India today, what we do in India with our sites is we are already in the middle of energy transition, going from conventional energy to renewable. Take our two big plants in Mangalore and Dahej, we use solar energy. Also, we use biofuel-based boilers, and with this alone, we save 2,500 tons per year. But even more important is the market. So we are having solutions for circular economy and climate protection. Take the example of insulation foams for buildings or battery materials for electromobility, a big topic in India as well, and bio-based products like certified fuel compostable polymers. And one thing I want to share as a last point, we're very proud that we could also support the Indian government with a regulation change from Bharat 4 to 6, when we talk about emissions in the mobility segment. 40% of the new cars and vehicles and 70% of heavy commercial vehicles actually use BASF mobile emission catalysts. So a big step, which we proudly supported. Last but not least, we heard it from others. It's important that we are also open and sharing our carbon footprint. So we are pioneering a tool which allows to have this transparency and very, very open to share this methodology also with other partners, with the industry, with governments, so that we can move all together fast. Thank you very much. So as said, this transition is mandatory and there's no time to lose.
True. And Dr. Rishta, like having worked and being associated with BASF myself for 20 years or so, I realize I've seen this transition in action. So BASF is definitely a leader in this domain. I think we are going back and forth between India and China. Going back to China, Dr. Fang, who represents Nestle, we all know that Nestle has been committed to achieving the net zero GHG emissions by 2050. What is your global roadmap and what are your key actions and progress in China?
Sure. First of all, thank you for giving us this opportunity to share some practices of Nestle in China in the sustainability areas. So yes, as you said, Nestle globally, we launched our net zero roadmap back to December last year. And this roadmap gave not only the target, but also a very clear timeline. For example, our baseline of GHG emission is upon Nestle Group's whole value chain's total emission back to 2018, which is 92 million tons of CO2 equivalent. So what's the universe of this one? Imagine, the total emission of the Switzerland as a country is only 1/3 of this one. So it's a huge. And our target is to strive to reduce our emission by 20% by 2025, and then to 50 by 2030 until 50 got zero. And not only with the timeline, we also get very specific actions to guide us to achieve those goals on time in full. For example, including the sourcing of ingredients, sustainability. We're also transforming our product portfolio to be more green and with less energy. We're evolving our packaging, manufacturing our products with renewable energy, and driving towards cleaner logistics, removing cargo from the carbon from the atmosphere, moving towards the carbon neutral brand, etc., etc. So to be more specifically, in Greater China, we follow strictly to the global approach, but also need to adjust to the local reality. Therefore, after several rounds of the careful discussion, we decided to focus on 3 areas, which means climate change, packaging, and sourcing. And let me just give you a few examples. For example, for the under climate change, we decided to focus on agriculture, which is the #1 contributor of all current GHG emission in China. Actually, account for more than 70%. And therefore, as a major dairy product producer in China, we also selected our dairy farming institute, where in the northern part of China, Heilongjiang province, we had a mega farm with around 4,000 cows there. So our ambition is to become a carbon neutral farm, the first one in Nestle Group. And perhaps we can be also the first one in China too. So the mainly to increase the the milk productivity, which means more milk with less cows and by better manure management, etc., etc. Then the second area is the sustainable packaging, which is something we face a lot of challenges in China. So our commitment is to achieve 100% of packaging recyclable or reusable, and reduce virgin plastic for 1/3 by 2025. And we have already implemented a number of innovative technologies by using paperization, alternative delivery system, etc., etc. And so far, by the end of this year, our target for design for recycling rate could be reached over 80%, which means 80% of our product manufactured in China are recyclable or reusable. And we have already successfully reduced virgin plastic for more than 1,000 tons in this year only. Last but not least is a sustainable sourcing, which is also one key area. We source, there are, for example, 1 million eggs per day in one of our BUs in China. And one of our target is to achieve 100% of the responsible sourced coffee bean in China, in global by 2025. I'm glad to share that in China, we have already achieved this goal 4 years ahead. So having shared this a few examples, I'm just trying to say, this is a journey, and any individual or any individual companies cannot achieve this goal by themselves. So we have to work together. So that's why I'm truly appreciate like UN and all the NGOs and government, they pay attention, and by connecting all the private sector together, we can work together to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Frank, because collective action, as you mentioned towards the end, is what is most required. Setting targets is one thing, and working together with multiple stakeholders will definitely help us actually both achieve our targets and monitor them. With that, I think we go to our speaker, Mr. Mahendra Singhi from Dalmia Cement. He's the MD and CEO. Mr. Singhi, what are some of the long-term strategies and actions your organization has implemented for reducing emissions in line with the 1.5 degree target set by the Paris Agreement. Mr. Singhi, please.
Yes. Happy hello to everyone. I'm thankful to UNGC for giving a great opportunity to share thoughts as well as to learn others' thoughts also. I would say business ambition has to now transform not only for business, but the society. And both ambitions should go together. One should not just talk of business. And with this philosophy, in 2014-15, we created a vision which said we have to be leader in building material and to create and to evoke pride in all stakeholders through innovation, sustainability, customer centricity, and our values. And for achieving this vision, we created a business philosophy which said clean and green is profitable and sustainable. We created an inclusive growth philosophy, and I'm happy to share with everyone that in those 5 years, we could work in such a big way that we could first enhance energy efficiency in the cement process. Second, we could use waste product of various other sectors like power plant, like steel plant and others, so as to reduce the usage of natural minerals. As well, we could also create low carbon cement. So all these activities and all this focus has helped us to make us one of the most profitable cement company in India, and at the same time, one of the lowest carbon footprint cement company in the global cement world. That motivated us in 2018, when no one was talking of 1.5 degree target, nobody was talking of net zero. So at that time, we identified 4 levers that what we should do. And then we took a self-imposed commitment of becoming carbon negative, not carbon zero, but carbon negative by 2040, not 2050. And the reason was that one, we should show leadership. Second, we should work in a more aggressive way for the society also. And I'm happy to also share that CDP, an organization which ranks companies on environmental front, in their global cement report, they ranked Dalmia Cement as #1 company globally on low carbon transition. And at the same time, since we are talking of India and China, so they also identified 4 other cement companies of India out of 10 who are working in a big way. Now, I would like to share that there are 3 major areas where we have to focus so that we can create ultimately a carbon-free cement. And this is what our commitment is, that from 2040 onwards, my cement, Dalmia Cement, that would not emit a gram of carbon dioxide in a net way from 2040. Now, the 3 major elements on which we are working is, 1, to replace thermal energy 100%, thermal electricity 100% by renewable electricity. We are already on this journey, and we are expecting that 70% or so renewable energy would come from solar and wind, and 30% would come from the tapping of the waste hot gases of cement plant and generating the power. Second would be to replace 100% fossil fuel also. And that would happen by usage of industrial waste of others, by usage of biomass, as well as also using the municipal waste. In fact, this is also a big philosophy of circular economy, in which one, we can clean our India, and at the same time, we can replace fossil fuel. And third one is how further to enhance energy efficiency. And I'm happy to share here that our power consumption per ton of cement is one of the lowest in global cement world. And now the most important technology which we identified in 2018, and now we have to work in a big way, is to capture the waste material carbon dioxide, CO2, and then make it usable product. It's not to put it under the ground, but to make it usable product, which is called now CCU technology. And with this technology, I'm sure we will be able to make our cement company carbon-free in 2040. Here, the challenge is how the CCU technology can be experimented. The good news is for India and Asia and the global cement world is that Asian Development Bank has done the feasibility study on their own for a 5 lakh ton CO2 capture and utilization plant, and they have found it technically and economically viable. Now the point is how to finance this, and I'm sure the deliberations which you had in the earlier session would surely give us the way out, that how we can do it. And in fact, this is also the platform where we can appeal to the developed world to come forward to support clean climate actions of India and China also, as well as the all developing world. In addition to what we have done on CO2, one more important action which we took was of water, how we can create water resilience. And in 2015, we decided that we should be water positive by 2020, 5 times. Good part was that in 2018, we became water positive 5 times. And based on our performance, based on the benefits which we could see for the society, we again have taken a target that by 2025, Dalma Cement should be water positive 20 times. And let me share that the recent assurance given by an audit firm in March 21 is that we have already become 12.4 times water positive. So my now message is that if you are able to change the mindset, if you are able to change the vision, if you are able to put sustainability aspect also in your strategy, if you are able to address maybe many sustainability development goals in your day-to-day actions, then it is possible to assure the world as well as your own people that we will be able to save the world. And I'm sure the great ideas which have come today also would definitely support various other companies to think afresh, go for right actions. And the last message from this one is act now, collectively. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Singhi. I think that kind of leadership of undercommitment and overperformance is what the world is expecting from the private sector, especially in this climate emergency. And with that, we request the speakers for their closing remarks, keeping in mind that you have already set targets, achieved quite a few of them. Could you give us, and this question is common to all, could you give us one reason why is it important for every business to set climate ambition targets, and one thing which is crucial to keep in mind while setting them, which will enable us to collectively achieve our goals? So why is it important to set the climate ambition targets, and what is crucial in that journey to achieve those targets? And I think I go back to Ms. Zhang for her comments, please. The closing remarks, Ms. Zhang.
Okay, first, we think the companies that set the ambitious greenhouse gas reduction efforts today will gain the competitive advantages in the coming years for a few reasons. That actually in the long term, it could lead to the cost saving, and also it can bolster the company's reputation, and also support the innovation and transformations change, which we can unlock the opportunities for growth. And actually, we are as Shengmu, we are the largest organic raw milk providers in China, and we are in the livestock industry. As we all know, the livestock industry plays a crucial role in the climate change and global warming. And since 2005, in response to increased the consumer demands, the GHG emissions from the dairy sector have increased by the 18% and reached 1.7 trillion tons and carbon dioxide in 2015. So, and also by using the global life cycle assessment approach, of which the cattle feeding accounts for the 70 to 80%. So the livestock industry faces several key challenges here of the emissions reduction. And so as Shengmu, as we are the large raw milk providers in China, we did a lot of work to push the industry growth. And we think, and actually, we also emphasize the management of the manure from the farm operations and realize the proper utilization of the resources under the guideline of the integration between sowing and breeding. And we actually explored through the decades a green sustainable operating model, despite of the obstacles beyond imagination, by adapting to local conditions over the year. Actually, we are in the Ulaanbaatar Desert. So by forming organic pasture through the treatment, organic grass for the feeding cattle, and fertilizing the land with the cattle manure. We are in the world first integrated industry chain with organic circulation of sowing, branding, and processing in the desert. So we think we push forward the whole industry with the providing a success model and benchmark for the companies in the sand-related industries to follow.
Great. Thank you so much. And Dr. Richter, what is your views on this? Why should the company set climate emission targets, and what should they be cautious of?
Yeah, we strongly believe there is no alternative in setting targets and holding ourselves accountable towards these targets. Very clear, in order to stay relevant for the next 100 years and beyond, this once-in-a-century transformation towards climate neutrality is simply imperative. So now you ask me about this one thing which is important. We believe it is not about differentiation, but about collaboration. We heard it from the other speakers as well. This transformation is highly capital intensive as well as technology intensive. And we have to do it along the whole value chain. So it means we jointly have to make this transformation technically and economically feasible. So we are convinced that ultimately all players involved will work together. And this also includes consumers. In the end, we also as consumers need to accept higher prices for CO2-free products throughout the value chain to offset higher operating costs and additional investments. So we need to strengthen cooperation between industry, which we are hearing today, but as importantly, policymakers, because we need this positive, outcome-oriented regulations that preserves our international competitiveness. We strongly believe this transformation can be done, but only jointly. So we at BASF see collaboration as our strength. We are willing to share, we are willing to work closely together with everyone, policymakers, researchers, customers, suppliers, and other partners to deliver on our climate goals. Thank you for inviting us.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Mr. Fang, please.
Yeah. Okay. So first, regarding the right target. So as the world leading food and beverage company, I want to share my view from the food system point of view, because the GHG emission associated with food system value chain actually accounts for around a quarter of the global total emission. And in the same time, in recent couple of years, we see a lot of the extreme weather situations, right? Some part were too much water, some part were they are too less. So if this kind of the extreme weather condition continues, we will say it actually will disrupt the food supply chain, and even cause less or even no production of certain of our ingredients. Therefore, as part of our sustainability, the target, we also set a vision to ourselves that to become, a kind of the sustainable and regenerative food system. So again, all this, is why we need a very clear, target and roadmap. And second part of your question is one critical thing. I think, they are very similar to our colleagues, they are invited today. But, from our business practice here in China, at least, we feel there's one critical thing is to call for consumers' action. Because, no matter how hard as the private sector we tried, eventually we hope that, all consumers can be educated and they can have informed choices, and they are willing paying for the premium for sustainability. Only you can buy this you can win the trust, and you can win the choices from consumers. We can get enough their financial, and so that we can reinvest into sustainability to achieve their bigger and even more aggressive targets. So again, this is not an individual effort. We do need to work collectively, just like they are today all for us, even more of us. So again, this is just one crucial thing beyond to others. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think collective action is something that is coming throughout the discussion. Mr. Singhi, please.
Yes. Having set the target, having acted on that, having reaped the benefits, I would say setting ambitious target, not only for the business, but for the sustainability, creates confidence of the stakeholders in the organization. It evokes pride in all the people of the organization. And thirdly, most importantly, it also motivates us to work for a larger purpose. And we as human beings, whether it's a CEO of the company, whether it's a worker of the company, or a human being, and they have to look at future humanity. They have to look at planet as a whole. So if we are convinced that bringing down CO2, keeping the temperature of 1.5 degree would help everyone, then we must take all actions. And that was the reason that voluntary targets were taken by us internally in 2014-15, in 2018. And then when this 1.5 degree concept came, when this SBTi came, we became the first cement company globally to commit for that. So I would say it creates win-win situation for everyone. Now, on the I would say two important issues, not one. The first is how climate finance can be made available. It can be by way of green grant. It can be by any type of support from developed world governments. It can be by any clean climate fund. That would be one thing, which also should also have the arrangement of international carbon market. So actions which have been taken, projects which have been taken up by India, China, and few others, that can get partially financed by international carbon market. And the second issue which I would like to say is, I would like to echo what Mr. Feng has said about the consumer's preference. So how we can create consumer's preference, and more the consumer demand would be, the more would be the green product, more would be the low carbon product. And let me share with all of you that on 29th September, Mr. John Kerry, Special Envoy of Climate of US President and World Economic Forum has created a first mover coalition in which many of the organizations have committed that even at premium, we would buy low carbon product, we would buy the net zero carbon product. And Dalmia Cement has become also one of the founding member of that. And this coalition would be, now it has been launched in COP26. So the point is how we can create a awareness about green product procurement. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the panelists, Dr. Richter, Mr. Fang, Ms. Zhang, and Mr. Singhi, because we collectively agree that climate action is the best way to build healthier communities, businesses, and economies, as well as to act, the urgency to act is there. So thank you so much, and we hope the deliberations and the implementation continue, and we have another opportunity to connect again in future, both India and China, and work together in collective action. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All the best for clean actions.
Thank you.
Happy Diwali. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Shabnam, Zhang, Mahendra, David, and Kerala, for your discussion. The message of Act Now must be our priority, and is always great to hear best practices from our regional perspectives.